while I was waiting for him to get his stuff packed up backstage, I got to see bikini, and that's kind of what started getting me into it. So I was like, oh, these women are feminine. They don't look too bulky. That's a body type that I'd be willing to have. And then I could train in the gym the way that I wanted to. Because even in pageants, I was still trying to run my legs off. I was running like 4 or 5 miles a day.
So you were running that much to what? To just basically burn off the muscle that the pageants didn't want?
Growing.
So when did you get into bikini? What year was that?
2019.
Got it. So, and then now it's 2021, you're in wellness. When did you get into wellness? Just 2020?
Yeah, so I was I was still planning bikini last year. 2020 was the first year that they introduced wellness in the NPC. And I still was gung-ho for bikini, thought I could make it work. And I was still running that much every day. And then I competed at my first show in August last year. It was a warm-up show for Junior USA. We just wanted to see what my physique would look like coming into a show and peaking. And then at that show, I placed 4th in bikini, and my feedback was that I did not fit the bikini mold anymore. I was completely wellness, and I needed to try to grow into wellness. So we just took that. I competed in wellness at that same show, won the overall, and then we had 3 weeks to get ready for wellness for Junior USA.
So, and were your legs already up to par for wellness at that point? Were you completely out of the bikini mold, or?
So I would say, I personally think that the bikini, the placing started following the guidelines that NPC has on their website much more so last year than they had in previous years. And I think that's because wellness didn't exist. So prior to wellness coming in 2020, the bikini girls that were winning, the muscularity was starting to grow. And then they added wellness, and then there had to be a clear line between the two divisions. So by the guidelines on NPC, we knew that I was on the larger side for my bottom half anyway. But that's all that had existed when I first started. So when we got that feedback, we weren't super surprised. It was kind of hard at first transitioning over, just because my mindset had been locked into bikini the whole time. But I'm really glad that I did switch. At the time, I definitely think I was borderline. But as soon as we made the decision to switch to wellness for Junior USA, we took the running out, and my legs added like an inch on them just from not running them down so much in those 3 weeks.
Right. So it seems like you were just doing everything to kind of hold yourself back just to even be in the, somewhat in the mold of bikini. And even though you were probably on the much larger size, and then I guess once you switched over, your body just naturally just did what it, should have really been doing all along.
Right. And I really think there's a thing that people talk about, like beginner gains. And although I've been training for a long time, I really think that that's where my size most recently has come from, because I've never tried to grow my legs. I grow decently well, like just genetically, but we'd always been trying to keep them down. So I think just in the last several months, since allowing myself to train harder in the gym to add more weight, they've gotten bigger.
Yeah, your legs are probably like, yes, finally, like get some nutrition. Oh, that's funny.
Pageants, at one point I was vegan for like 5 weeks.
Oh no.
Just so that I wouldn't take in any protein, so that
Oh, you froze on me. So I didn't catch that last part. Just so you froze a little bit on me.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay. The coach that I had then for pageants, we ended up going vegan just so that I wouldn't be taking any protein, so that my body wouldn't have
like nutrition,
anything to grow off of. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's kind of like what it reminded me of, even though like Flex Lewis, you can see him behind there, even though, yeah, I can't get the real one here, so we just got a picture. But like people were saying how great, he did in 212, but he always had to like just basically starve himself the last like portion of his prep so much just to get himself down to that weight level, and everybody was anticipating, of course it didn't happen, he didn't, he got injured, but everyone was anticipating that he'd be even much better in the open. So it sounds like a very like similar situation that you were, kind of going through. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
definitely now.
Yeah. So when was your first wellness competition?
So that warm-up show, we decided last minute to compete in wellness. So I did bikini and wellness then. And the overall at that show, the Julie Palmer. And then 3 weeks later, we did Junior USA. I did wellness at that, and I placed second.
And you did what? I'm sorry, you did wellness of that and what?
You're frozen.
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you did wellness of that show, and what happened?
I won the overall at that warm-up show, and then I went to Junior USA 3 weeks later and did wellness there, placed second. And then we pushed, NPC Universe was 12 weeks after that. So I stayed in prep, we pushed to that, and then I placed seventh there. So then that's when we pulled out, went into off season, and then just tried to grow.
Yeah. So at this point, what are your plans now for the future?
So right now I'm 7 weeks out from junior nationals. That'll be in Chattanooga in June.
Oh, you're going to be close to me. I'm in Nashville.
Oh, okay. So that's my first plan for this year, and then we'll just kind of see how I do there, and then make plans for the rest of the season.
Yeah. So ideally, are you looking to get your pro card this year?
That would be, that's the plan. That's what we're shooting for, but we'll just see what the judges think. I think I've added a decent amount of size to my legs since last year when I competed. We've tried to follow the feedback that the judges gave. Just I needed to bring up my quads. I needed to have a little bit better conditioning in my lower half, my hamstrings, my glute tie-ins, and that's everything. That all of my improvement has been in my lower body. So I'm hoping that it serves us well this year.
Yeah, wellness is interesting because it's such a new division in the IFBB. Although I mean they've had it for a long time in the more Hispanic countries and Brazil and so forth, but in the US and IBB, it's so new that they're still kind of developing a criteria. I was interested to know who they would judge as being the higher, the highest level, and then 1, 2, 3, so forth by their physiques. And they just had the Pittsburgh Pro. Did you keep up with that?
Oh yeah, we streamed it at home. We were planning to go up there, but I'm just honestly prep's wiping me out. So after my work, we just kind of canceled traveling all the way there because it's 6 hours from our house. But we streamed it at home.
Yeah, that's, well, of course, with your schedule and you being a nurse, it's tough. It's not like you're just filing paperwork, so but so what did you think? Any impressions on the show?
I think, I mean, going into it, if you follow just a lot of the girls from overseas that have been competing in wellness for a while, I think those that were predicted to be in the top 10, top 15 were. I also think that the conditioning that was brought in the top 5, that's kind of what my coach and I were thinking would be necessary. So it's nice that we were able to see that ahead of time before I do step on stage, just kind of as a confirmation. Granted, it is still new, so things can change. The next winner of the New York Pro might look a little bit different. But I do think that there was a big difference between conditioning across like the top 5 from
Sure.
a lot of the other girls. So I think that that's going to be a big contender. And I also think it's not only about size, but it's about overall shape. So like glutes to hamstrings to quad ratios, the tinier the waist, the better it seems, is what they're looking for. So that's really just what we're focusing on bringing in these last 7 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got a good look. You're everything you have, like from the pictures that I've seen, you look sharp. You know, it's just a matter of like just, you know, keep training and, you know, keep developing, and you know, you're definitely going to get there sooner than later. I will say that I think majority of people that have been into wellness. I was talking to Robert Phil, who's one of the more popular wellness coaches, and he was saying the majority of the Hispanic nation were interested in Angela winning because she's been kind of known as, she's won over 50 pro shows, and like that's the look that in that area they're really considered to be truly wellness. Of course, Yarishna was the one that everyone was kind of looking to as well. She's very popular and she has a good shape and look. And I thought it was interesting that what I hear some people on podcasts and other shows talk about wellness, they always talk about like, oh well, it's the less conditioned, less like, how can I put this? It's the division that you don't have to almost like work as hard at conditioning, which I don't see that at all. You look at
Yeah,
Yarishna, I mean, she is peeled,
right.
absolutely
I think
peeled.
that's
So it's
definitely
like,
understanding, especially, I mean, this was the first pro show. Everyone looked great. I think definitely at the NPC level, there is a massive difference between the girls that I think are ready for for a national level show and the girls that think just that well, I have a hard time losing fat in my lower body, so I must be wellness. And that is not what it is. I mean, most of these girls are doing over an hour of cardio a day. Their food gets really low. I mean, by definition on the NPC website, it's the same conditioning as bikini, but with more muscle. So if you can't get lean enough for bikini, then you are not bikini and you are not wellness. You're neither. And I think a lot of girls think if they can't get lean enough for bikini, then they must be wellness. And that is not correct.
yeah. I think that is the case, but I find that to be across all divisions, right? Like even, I don't think you can just single wellness out for that. I think it's because it's, you know, it's new that people are looking at it. But really, if you think about it, there's a big difference between, like, let's just take male bodybuilders. I mean, there's a big difference between the guys that are ready for nationals and the guys that are, you know, think they have muscle when they really just haven't cut all their body fat off of them. They're not big. They just haven't got lean enough. So,
Yeah,
you know, it's similar to that. So
that's true.
for sure. Um, but yeah, so in your case, like in your opinion, I guess I should say, what what would be the difference between someone in bikini and someone in wellness? I know we said that, oh well, it's the leg size. So is it a structural thing? Are you just genetically structured to be wellness and that's kind of where you fall in? Or do you think someone can grow into wellness? Like what
So
do you think that? Mhm.
I think that it's possible for someone to grow into wellness. How long it's going to take is probably the biggest difference. Um, if you genetically are not inclined to hold muscle more in your lower body, if you haven't been more of an athlete for a majority of your life, then the muscle size is not already there. I think that girl is going to take longer to build that muscle size in her lower half. Of course, if the genetics are there, if you're already tipping the scale like I was with being too muscular on your lower half, it's going to be easier, or not easier because it's not easy, but take less time to transition into the wellness category. I think especially as the division grows and it's been around longer, there's going to be more of a clear-cut line between what the wellness look is and what the bikini look is. Right now, I think the shape, one, they're still trying to figure it out, and two, the shape is all across the board, because there are girls like me last year who were kind of on that line. And then there's girls who, like Urishna and Angela, who have been training for wellness for years. So their shape is obviously very different than someone who just decided 3 months ago they're going to transition.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to catch up to them if you just started. So it's almost like they have it kind of locked in for a few years at least, you know, until some of the other girls start like catching up to that, you know, to that level. You know, so I guess we'll see. Who would you like to see win the Olympia? Like who's your favorite, or who do you like?
Well, my favorite like shape is probably Francielle, and then also Isabella. And neither of them have competed in the US yet. So that'll be really interesting to see them go up against some of the girls that have already competed at the Pittsburgh Pro. But I'm really excited to see them on stage.
Yeah, I think so. Francella she's one of my favorites. I'd put her like, to me, like she's top 5 easy, you know, but she competed a few years ago in the Arnold that she won, and I thought she had a really, you know, great look to her. I really think she's gonna be in the running, and she seems to win like pretty much all the shows that she, you know, gets into.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be really interesting, you know, coming up to these bigger shows leading up to the Olympia, and seeing who's gonna come out on top. Do you think it's gonna be a problem, like when we look at something like physique, like female, I believe that's female physique and bodybuilding? It's how they have such a almost like they're trying to separate the divisions, but they're almost like flowing into each other. You know, some of the girls are getting just as big as, you know, so it's really hard to even sometimes tell the difference. Do you see like wellness like flowing into another division at some point where the girls get too big, or, you know, or not big enough, or you think it's such a niche division that it doesn't really go anywhere?
I think it's a super niche division, and because it's the only division that's not about balance. So our lower body is supposed to be more overpowering in size than our upper body. Whereas all the other divisions, things are about balance, like bikini, you want like the cap delts, you want a tiny waist, you want the glutes there, but your upper body needs to match your lower body size. And I feel like that's the same with all the other divisions except for wellness. So the only way, I mean, right now, I think it kind of looks like it's flowing because there are girls coming up from bikini and they're coming down from figure. So the girls coming up from bikini don't have the lower body size yet. And the girls coming down from figure, their upper body, a lot of them are trying to shrink it. But I think as it becomes more established, there's going to be a more clear-cut line.
Do you have a problem with keeping your muscle down as you grow your legs, like on your upper body?
I really don't train upper body at all anymore.
So you don't have
But
to
that
worry
was
about it.
in bikini. That's already what I was doing because I build muscle so well. So I mean, that was a problem then. It's not a problem now because I didn't really, in my opinion, pass the line for my upper body. So now I just have to maintain it. So I only train delts once a week, and it's like a 20-minute pump workout. And then my back session is just like a pump, and then I do deadlifts. So the only thing I'm really focusing on is lower body as far as size.
So indirectly, like hitting your upper body, it's not affecting you in any way as far as like growing it too much. You're
No,
in a good place.
because I'm not putting any direct emphasis on it.
Got it. So in these upcoming shows that you're gonna, I'm sure you're gonna get your pro card very soon. What is your focus on? Do you have like a particular like focus that you're training for this upcoming year? Like body type or body, I should say, body focus, body part, so to speak.
I mean, it's been consistently my legs. I think my personal goal, I think what's going to help me do the best is if like the better conditioning that I can get in my like glute hamstring tie-in, the better. That's always been my struggle point. That's a lot of girls' struggle point. We're already at now, in my opinion, where we were when I was on stage last year. So we just need to continue the process so that I can continue to lose fat in my in my rear end, basically. I think that's really going to help me pull my look together. And then as far as like shows down the road, ideally I'll earn my pro card this year. And then I think we'll just need to assess what my show day look is and what my feedback is from the judges and see if I should take an off season, if I were to win my pro card, if I should take an off season after that, or where we should go. Because ultimately, once I do earn the pro status, I don't want to get on a pro stage until I feel like I can compete.
Right.
And of course, when you step into that realm, you're the small fish in a big pond again. So we'll just reassess at that point. But I really think that the conditioning on my lower body is our biggest hurdle right now.
Yeah, you don't want to get on a stage just to waste time. It's an expensive sport.
Right.
So you want to get in there to actually get something done. So I completely understand where you're coming from there. So your biggest problem is just getting into the proper condition, which is understandable. Like that's conditioning wins shows. What does your diet consist of during your prep?
So this is my third prep with my coach. I've been with the same coach the whole time. Every prep has looked different. Right now, my food just like took its first drop last week, and now took another drop this week. So I have check-ins tomorrow and we'll see where it goes. But I follow a meal plan, so I don't know what my macros are.
Right.
Still have carbs every day. We do kind of carb cycle. So I have higher carb, like a moderate amount of carbs on training days. It's lower on non-training days, and I have one high carb day a week. I had my cheat meal until like 11 or 10 weeks out. And then he pulled that. And at this point, it's just refeeds based off of like how I'm looking, my check-in pictures. And my cardio right now is still lower than what I ended with last year. So I think just the consistency over the years is allowing my body to respond better. But I know we have to get further than we did last year. So I'm ready for an hour and a half or whatever he gives me of cardio towards the end. If food gets low, it gets low.
Right. You're all in.
Yeah.
So basically what you're telling me is I don't want to be your patient at the very end of your prep. So, yeah.
I actually really love my job. So I probably get more sassy at home when I'm bored than at work when I'm busy, because I don't have as much time to worry about being hungry. So I mean, I'm not my own patient, so I don't know, but I don't think I take it out on my patients, and I work with babies. So
That's yeah. I was thinking about that. I was like, well, I guess I would never be your patient anyway. That would be very odd.
that would be a strange situation.
Yeah, yeah. That's very cool. So, what is your like? If you had to have one cheat meal, like, what is your favorite cheat meal to have?
So typically after a show, I really like to have a bacon cheeseburger and bacon cheese fries. But since we started planning junior nationals, even when I had my cheat, I wasn't allowed to have pizza anymore. Like it had to be a cleaner cheat. So
Hmm.
I've been craving pizza for many weeks. So pizza or a burger.
Pizza or burger. That's always my go-to. It's like pizza or burger. It's like my wife is like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Pizza." Okay, what about something else? Burgers. I don't know. It's all that's my only two options in my mind.
And I really love dessert. Like when because in off season, I have a cheat meal once a week. And my husband and I have the same coach. So we usually use that as like date night and do our cheat meal together.
Yeah,
And
that's nice.
we really like the My Cookie Dealer cookies. And we'll pull like two out. I usually pick the flavors and we split it so I can have like half of each flavor.
Mhm. So how is it? Just going on a tangent, how is it being married or in a relationship with someone else who's a competitor? I know there's several people in the industry that have that situation, but I don't think I've ever actually asked anybody that. Like, does it become like difficult when you guys are both on prep? Is it actually like nicer because you get to do it together? Like, how does that work?
So I will say I've been in both boats because he's been doing this since 2014 and I didn't
Mhm.
start until like 3 years ago.
Right.
So I will say it's much easier now that I do it too because I understand the points of view that he had. Whereas before, when he would get hungry and sassy when he's getting close to a show, I was like, you cannot act like that. Like I had no tolerance for. So it's made the relationship better, I think. This was our first time prepping this deep into a prep. Last year we started and then COVID screwed up our plans.
Yeah.
And then he didn't compete last year. So far it's actually been much smoother than I expected.
Mhm.
I think because we're both so zeroed in, we're both planning, he's got a warm-up show and then we're both planning junior nationals.
Mhm.
So at this point we're the same weeks out essentially. So our mindsets are very similar. And I
Mhm.
think that helps. Um, it was definitely harder when I didn't have an understanding for the sport and I didn't really know why he wanted to go to the gym constantly and why doing so much cardio and why we couldn't go out to eat. So it's definitely made it better.
Yeah. There is a level of like understanding that helps, right? Like, because regular people, like, they don't really like know that process or appreciate that process. They have a hard time understanding. They're like, this is silly, and it's, well,
Right,
it's one of those things. So
right.
yeah. So yeah, it's interesting with the whole COVID situation as we kind of wrap up here. Um, Before, when I talked to some other girls in the past, the conversation would lead to, well, how do you plan for a show? It might get pulled. It might get, stopped. Now it seems like everything is reopening. They're not really holding anything back. I mean, Nashville, they said in May 14th is going to be they're lifting all restrictions. Now, whether you think that's good or bad is not really like what I wanted to talk about, but more like now it doesn't look like any shows are going to get stopped just by looking kind of around the country. Do you have like any of those concerns? Like, are you like, oh well, what if a show gets canceled, or are you pretty good on the shows that you're doing that they're going to happen?
I feel pretty confident that they're going to happen. I think that one we've got at least, I think last year the biggest issue was how we be safe about it. Like they were trying this to happen, and I feel like that's been put into place now. So promoters can talk amongst themselves, figure out what needs to happen in order to make shows happen. But I also learned last year, I stressed so much thinking about what if my show is canceled. This year, I'm just
Yeah.
not thinking about it. If it's canceled, we'll reassess then. But that did me no good. And only, I mean, I am terrible with cortisol. I hold water like nobody's business. So the less that I can have, the better. So if it happens, it happens. We'll reassess then. I'll freak out, get over it, and then we'll move on. But I'm not going to worry what happens.
Yeah, well, I will say, like I said, it's less like it appears to be less likely for that to happen. Yeah, I am interested in what protocols they're going to put in for like safety purposes, if any. I remember that when I talked to Missy Trescott after her Olympia win last year, she was saying that there was a lot of people that got sick from the Olympia, like a ton of people got sick. So, you know, yeah, I don't know how all the statistics and everything work out now with COVID cases and everything like that, but hopefully they can, they can do it in such a way where, people aren't, presented with that kind of danger. But, we'll see what happens with that. It's always a tricky situation, when you're dealing with protocols and stuff like that. So,
Right.
okay. And so do you do any kind of like coaching yourself? Do you help people train? Do you answer questions, things like that?
Yeah, so I do posing for bikini and wellness. And then my husband does competition prep and lifestyle clients. So we kind of roll that into a big bundle.
Okay.
If he has bikini and wellness competitors, then I tend to help them with posing.
Mhm.
But he's been doing that for a while. He's just started growing it in the last year or so. So
Awesome.
yeah.
So if they wanted to contact you, your husband, like what would be the best way to do that?
Probably just Instagram for now. We haven't created any fancy website or anything. Um, so I'm at a_fit_Adams, and he's Kenley_Adams 34, I think.
Okay. Well, I'll tag, even if that's not the case, I'll tag it so they'll get the actual if you made a mistake on his name, don't worry about it because we got it. We got it in the comments or in the description, so that's not a problem. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I greatly appreciate it. It was nice meeting you. I hope you do well in Chattanooga. I'm not sure if I'll be there, but if I don't, I'm wishing you the best. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. You take care. Bye bye.
Bye.